Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. Summertime. I took some time off in July to present my Hall of Fame memories around here, and some of those memories had to do with the summer of 2015, which was between my wife's two leukemia battles, when I did 30 ballparks in 30 days for the Bone Marrow Registry. And I find weird stuff because, like I'm a sports fan out on Twitter, and people come to me, and I must say this. I was coming back from my yoga class 2 weeks ago, and I saw a guy coming southbound on Light Street toward Cross Street, and he had a Jay Buckley's shirt on, kind of like my Strategic Factory shirt. And I said, man, Jay Buckley's baseball tours. I'm a guy that's done baseball tours to a lot of different places, done it on my own. I've done it on the internet. I've done it with my wife. I've done it as a reporter. I've done it as a fan. I'll be doing it for football this year when I go to the LA Memorial Coliseum and check another stadium off because I'm a stadium nerd. This guy has a ballpark e-guide that you can find. He's a South Jersey guy. I found him on the internet. Looking forward to having him on for the first time because the website's kind of cool and kind of magazine-y, and I'm not sure how many of these ballparks he's been to or how many he aspires to. Kurt Smith is a first-time guest here. BallparkEGuides.com is the way to find him. The number one resource. And, dude, I got to tell you, man, my thing was a passion project, right? Like going to 30 ballparks in 30 days. I got home, and 60 days later, my wife got leukemia again and almost died. It was terrible. But, it was a passion go-to-stadium things. Your thing's like trying to save people money, which I think's pretty cool, man. So welcome aboard. Let's talk about some baseball and some ballparks, man.
Thanks, Nestor. Thanks for having me on.
No worries. So first things first, inspiration. I'm assuming you're a Phillies fan, kind of, sort of, or no?
Actually, no, Nestor. I am, in fact, an Orioles fan. And when I was a younger lad and I was having to stretch every dollar before I became independently middle class, I was making 4 to 5 trips to Camden Yards every year, and I had a favorite parking garage. I had I bought my peanuts outside. I had a place to get a hot dog outside. There were all these little things that I was doing to save money, and I had my favorite seats, my favorite places to sit, my favorite ways to get there, all that stuff. And I thought it might be interesting to write a book about this kind of thing with every ballpark. So I started researching Citizens Bank Park in Philly, because that's about 15 minutes away from me. I figured it'd be easy. And after about a month,
but you had been to the Vet. You saw games at the Vet in the '90s, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
I went to plenty of games at the Vet.
We all did.
It was a terrible ballpark, but I have a lot of great memories there.
Oh man, come on, man! The Orioles won the World Series there, and I was there at Game
true,
5.
Yes,
so you don't forget October 18, 1983, when you're from Baltimore. Believe me, So for you, this passion project, you've been to all the major league ballparks.
No, I have not. I've just returned from a trip to Atlanta, so I'll be adding content about SunTrust Park pretty soon. I have 15 ballparks that I've written about on the website, including Camden Yards, Fenway, Wrigley, Yankee Stadium. Still need to do my West Coast trips yet, but I've got a lot of the East Coast ones covered for now.
What's your bucket list place? You got a spot yet? I would tell you, if you haven't been west of the Mississippi, Dodger Stadium's the place you got to go. For me... And I've been to all of them, but I haven't been to all of them because I haven't been to SunTrust yet. You beat me there. I almost saw Billy Joel there a couple years ago. But I was last year of what was Turner Field and the Ali Stadium and the old Fulton County. And one of my favorite baseball memories in that parking lot was when Jim Leyritz hit the home run. I recalled that one a couple days ago because I found my ticket stub and press pass from that one in the 96 World Series, I guess, right? So, for all these stadiums and where you go, so you go to SunTrust. So that is a place I haven't been. So give me a little primer on what you see, look for, and are going to write about there, because that is the modern thing, right? That's the newest. That's the one the community's built around. And I'm sure on a summer day it's working there. My man Chris Pike is there all the time and says all the brew pubs are full and all the hipsters are hanging out, right?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. They actually designed the place to be closer to be in Cobb County, which is closer to where their season ticket base is. I think they had a problem. The Braves complained about the transit situation going to Turner Field, but I could tell you it was much better there than it is at SunTrust. So the first thing I would tell you about SunTrust, the most important thing you need to know about this place is that you need to book your parking beforehand. Do not come to this place. Do not just drive there and just think you're going to go and search and find a spot. They have a lot of parking there, but the traffic is. They actually moved the start times of games to 7:30 because the traffic is so horrendous. And usually you can book parking through the Braves website, and there's lots of different ways you can do that. And one thing that you can do is, because they have the Battery Atlanta there, where they have a bunch of restaurants and shops, you can park your car in the red garage, which is right there at the ballpark. And if you spend, it costs $50, but if you spend $50 in the Battery, then you can turn those receipts in, and your parking is free. So that's one.
See,
of the
you're
ways
giving me value already, dude. I haven't even been down. You already saved me. You already got me like 3-4 beers for free, right?
It's what I do, man. It's what I do.
Cheapskate ballpark guides. I'm digging it, man. I like it. I'll be using this as a resource in the future. But, for you doing all of this stuff, and at what point did it become a website? I mean, at what point did your passion hobby thing become hey, some guy from Baltimore might call me one day and talk about this crazy passion of mine?
It actually started with ebooks about each ballpark, and I was charging $4.99 for these ebooks. But the problem was that I was putting so much material in these things. Like I can send you I'll send you my Camden Yards ebook, and you'll see that I was putting so much into it, and it was just too much for me to keep up with it. When I first started with this, it was I was married, I had no kids, and I had one full-time job. Now I have 2 kids and 2 full-time jobs. Not 2 full-time jobs.
And you probably watch less baseball than you've ever watched.
Well, no, I managed to make my trips. I managed to get to Baltimore at least once a year. I still get to Yankee Stadium. I was at Fenway. I was in Pittsburgh this year. So I still managed to do it. But, it's a little bit harder than it used to be. So now it's just basically a website. I provide as much information as I can. There's a lot of helpful stuff on there. And, support the sponsors, and I appreciate it.
Well, hey, I'm all about the sponsors. BallparkEGuides, Kurt Smith's here. He's from South Jersey doing a ballpark tutorial. In doing all this, where's your favorite place? Because, I had been to most of the stadium, and look, I wrote tombs about my tour and the man who saved my wife's life and all the celebrity fun stuff we did.
Great story.
I shared a piece with you on Sports Illustrated, wrote about us, but I wrote about, I'm a writer as well, and part of the journey was taking all these pictures and, sitting at a game with Jack Harbaugh and having 2 crazy old ladies be beating up Jim Harbaugh, telling Jack Harbaugh what a terrible son he has. We had fun on this tour, but, all these years later, the ballparks start to change, things start to change. But I remember, the $1 beer I got in Anaheim, which was the worst stadium, right? And the saving money part becomes a big factor. I went to a spring training game out in Arizona. I saw the Boston Red Sox come and play Sloan Park in a stupid, 2 days before the real season began. It was $80 on StubHub to get tickets to walk into a spring training game. And all of a sudden, I'm like, this is a cottage industry here where beers are $14 and stuff, that anywhere you can cut a couple of corners to save a few bucks, that is helpful. I love baseball, but my dad taught me early on the game's the same in the outfield as it is in the infield,
And one of my favorite things to do is get my buzz on early at Sliders across the street before I go into Camden Yards. It's a whole lot cheaper to do that.
Cheaper on the outside.
Yeah, absolutely. And I focus a lot on that, and there's a lot of ways to save money that I learned that I never knew about, that I share with people, and they're like, wow, I didn't know about that. And right now, if you subscribe to my newsletter, you subscribe on the website, I'm going to be sharing a gift, an ebook with 10 of my favorite tightwad tips for saving money at the ballpark. So I highly recommend that people subscribe.
Well, don't drink it. Don't buy anything inside. Is your
Well, no, not always. Not always. There's ways around that. Like Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia, they used to have specials on beer when the game was going. I don't know if they're doing that now, but when they had McFadden's there as part of the ballpark, you could go in there, and during the game, you could get a beer for $3. I don't know if they're still doing that with this new Pass and Stow restaurant they have.
Well, the other thing is they're winning now, too, so the prices go up when they start winning.
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper to see Orioles games these days than it once was.
Kurt Smith is here. It's BallparkEGuides. So is Camden Yards your favorite place?
It's definitely, it's always in the top 3. My opinion of it changes all the time. I love Fenway. I love PNC Park in Pittsburgh. I love Great American in Cincinnati. I think that's one of the most underrated ballparks.
I was there on a $1 dog night. It's a cheapskate. I was there on a Friday night. The line was so long that I think I paid $4 and got a regular dog. But
I actually have a story on my website where I got a ticket parking, a T-shirt, and a beer, and a pizza from La Rosa's for close to about like $16 for the total thing. There's a story on the website about that.
Man, I got to read up on this because cheap baseball. Tell me how to get into a Nats game for free because I don't like them and I want to cut every corner that I can. And I'll never go to another Nats game. But
go to the box office on game day and ask for one. I don't know if it's still available. I don't know if it's still $5, but they sell $5 tickets on game day. It's section 401 and 402, which are in the upper reaches of the place. But Nationals Park has some of the best standing room spots in baseball. They actually have places where you can just sit on a bench and with a counter and just sit your food there. A lot of places in Nationals Park like that. And I've done that before. You get a $5 ticket and then you just find a good spot.
So where do you go? Like, I'll give you an example. So I did all the ballparks, 30 ballparks, 30 days, and by the end I'm wearing down, right? Like, I'm carrying swabs. My wife is meeting me on Friday with fresh underwear and clothing, taking my dirty stuff, taking all the swabs back on Monday. She did 18 of the 30 ballparks. But I remember, like, going out to Seattle, and I got there early, and everyone said to me, you need to go out on the left field porch and watch the sunset. Because I was there in July, and so I did that. But there were all these little things, and I didn't, like, nerd out into every chat room. I mean, it wasn't like that. I've done this professionally a long time. Most of these ballparks are places I've been. A lot of times I was going with friends of mine. My wife had just survived, so it was a little bit more emotional, a little bit more like wanted to grab something to eat, wanted to grab a beer, see a friend, see a game. But in every spot, there's a nook and cranny on the internet for, like in Oakland. If you go to Oakland, you got to go sit in right field on the porch with the crazies and paint your face up and, beat on the tambourine and do all that stuff. but there are things you do in every ballpark. Where do you go? Like, when you're going to do your West Coast thing, where are you going to go looking for hints?
I go to a whole bunch of places. I used to have a Word document with a list of about 50 sources that I went to. Reddit is a good one. TripAdvisor is a good one. There are lots of forums out there. Baseball Fever. There's lots of forums out there where people share stuff like that. And sometimes I'll do a search for, what to do at PNC Park or something like that, or what to do if you're bringing the kids. This is all stuff I want to know because if I'm bringing my kids there, of course, I'm going to want to keep them occupied. Reddit's one of my favorites, and TripAdvisor's great. Even places like Yelp, the Yelp forums. I try to find places where people are just sharing stuff and they're really trying to give good advice. There's also baseballparks.com. My friend Joe Mock, that's his website. There's a Facebook group called Ballpark Chasers. They're giving each other tips all the time. And it's really great.
I love it. I mean, that 20 years ago, that didn't exist, right? I mean, 20 years ago, it was like, dude, I did a baseball trip in the summer of '89 to go to Comiskey Park before they ripped it down. Me and my buddy Russ Letra jumped in my Toyota Cressida, and we drove, all night. We got a flat tire right outside of Pittsburgh. The whole deal. We drove to Milwaukee. We saw shooting stars. We had a rain delay at Comiskey. We saw Nolan Ryan's last start at Comiskey. We saw one of the first night games at Wrigley. It was that summer, So we did all that. We saw Bears, Dolphins, Goofy, Dan Marino actually, played 3 plays at Soldier Field. So we did this trip, but back then it was like a Rand McNally map, right? It was like a mobile travel guide, right? It was order online, like call the number. They would send you the schedule. You would fill out the little form. You would mail a check. They would mail you the tickets. Summer '83, my parents took me out to St. Louis and Kansas City. When Harley Race died a couple weeks ago, I put some pictures up of seeing the wrestling matches in St. Louis because I saw Steve Carlton pitch at Busch Stadium, and I saw Gaylord Perry and Don Sutton pitch. The Brewers were playing the Royals. So I have all these incredible ballpark memories. And I remember my parents and I saw a doubleheader for $1 at Royal Stadium in 1983. Nice. Twine-nighter for $1. And in '83, it was still $1. But either way...
And the Royals were still pretty good then.
Oh, I mean, George Brett was on the field. I mean, Frank White was out there. Yeah, it was all that. So, I mean, all these years later, baseball really has gotten expensive, right? I mean, like, part of it is you can still, like the Orioles the other day, I got one of their mailers, and they did $1 dogs, and underneath of it said all game long. And I'm thinking, What do you stop them in the third inning? Do you, I mean, there's nobody going to the games here, but this is where, like, if they're looking to lure people back, start with the dollar dogs and the cheapskates, right? Like, and in Baltimore, it's been about bobbleheads and collectibles and all that, but that's still not the cheapest way because they make you pay $10 more to get the bobblehead. That's sort of the scam the Orioles have here. But I know, like in Tampa, there were dollar nights. I mean, baseball's still a place you can get in pretty cheap most places if you finagle a little bit, right?
You can get in pretty cheap if you want to get the better seats. Obviously the better seats are a whole lot more expensive than they used to be because it's a status thing now. I mean, people want to get the suites. The corporate CEOs, they want to be seen in these suites. They want to be seen at these sporting events. It's become a status thing, and I think that's part of where baseball's raking in their money these days. Because you remember those days, like before the internet, when you actually had to call and order tickets, and you either paid what the team wanted you to pay, or you went through these brokers or scalpers, which were much worse. I mean, you were probably going to pay a lot more through them. Now with StubHub and all these third-party websites like SeatGeek, you have so many more options out there. And I talk to people who tell me, I remember the days where you could go up to the box office and get a $15 ticket, and sit in the lower level. And I'm like, yeah, but we only made $5 an hour back then. So it's kind of. It's proportionate in some ways to how much disposable income people have, but and baseball is adding all these bobbleheads and dollar dog nights because there's more entertainment option out there, and and people have better TV sets, and you got to find ways to get them out there.
Well, the Orioles let kids in for free. I mean, it doesn't make anybody go, but
I did take advantage of that once. It was pretty cool.
Were you the kid or no? No, I'm just. Kurt Smith is here. BallparkEGuides is the way to find him out on Twitter as well. And really a beautiful website, sort of magazine style, and has a FAQ, the whole deal. You can learn about Kurt. And so what's the next ballpark for you? You said 15. You just did Atlanta. You got anything else coming up or no?
I'm going to be adding Atlanta, and I'm really, right now it's a battle to sell the wife on a trip next year to see Denver, Kansas City, and St. Louis. I'm really determined to get to those.
Tell her to throw me an email. I'll help you out. I mean, I'll talk to her about it.
Absolutely, I appreciate that.
Well, I would say to you,
I'll put her on the radio with you.
Have you been to spring training in either location?
No, I have not.
All right, so
I haven't done that yet. That's a later on thing in life.
I would tell you that you should go to Phoenix and see spring. I tell everybody that because look, I'm in an Oriole place. You're in a Phillies place. We're an East Coast people, so Yankees fans go to Tampa. Phillies fans go to Clearwater and Tampa. Orioles fans now go to Sarasota. They went to Fort Lauderdale like the old Yankees fans. But it's very rare that I see people that have been to Phoenix and done the baseball experience because they're like, I'm only there for the Orioles or the Red Sox or whatever it is, and those teams don't play there.
Right.
I would tell you, man, park your car in Phoenix for 4 or 5 days. Go out there, find yourself a $99 flight, get yourself a cheap room, and work some of those ballparks out there and it never rains, unlike South Florida, and unlike these hour and a half between ballparks in Florida, everything's 15 minutes away in Phoenix.
Right.
So that's my tip for you is if you love baseball, go to spring training. You'll dig it.
I am definitely filing that one away, Nestor. I'm definitely going to keep that one in mind. All
right, man. Well, I come to you as a veteran, Kurt. What can I say? And I would also tell you, because you said to your wife you want to do Kansas City, I would tell you St. Louis is the most authentic baseball experience where you'll stay downtown, you'll do the bar, you'll do all that stuff. The Kansas City thing, that's my favorite sort of all-time stadium. My parents went there to see the Fountains in '83. My mom loved the Fountains. I loved George Brett. I still have a man crush on George Brett. They kicked our ass a couple of years ago. Yeah, of course. The ALC. I have one baseball bobblehead. It's George Brett's because they didn't make a Sixto Lescano one. So, but Kansas City, you're in. Denver.
And St. Louis is the kind of place that really lends itself to what I do because it's more expensive than most ballparks. There's a lot of bars and taverns and restaurants in St. Louis that you eat there. They give you a free ride to the restaurant. You park in their place for free, so you get a cheaper meal and you get a ride to the ballpark. There's a lot of, like Milwaukee has a lot of those. Detroit has quite a few, and I think that's a really cool thing.
All right, well, we're going to work on that here in Baltimore as we try to resurrect and rise up the Orioles. I should have worn my Free the Birds hat for you, dude. So, all right, well, look, man, and look, with Denver, Denver's got weed, good food, bars, breweries, mountains. Like just
go
to Red. Hey, how about this? When you go to Denver, go to Red Rocks. Make sure you see a show at Red Rocks. So there's your tip for Denver. All right,
will do. Absolutely.
And to make sure you ride into the mountains, because I didn't for the first 20 years of going to Denver. I went to Denver for 20 years without ever driving into the mountains. I did that about 4 years ago. Got some fresh air, changed my life, dude. So do that. All right.
Nice.
And St. Louis, make sure you go and get custard at Ted Drew's, okay? This is
I have done that. I have done the custard at Ted Drew's thing.
All right, have you done barbecue at Jack Stack in Kansas City?
I did Gates in Kansas City.
Well, you did wrong. Stack. Yeah, you did it wrong. I don't know why. I'm about to upgrade you.
I'm told Arthur Bryant's is the big name there.
Look, I'm going to Kansas City in 6 weeks for Ravens. I never go to Kansas City without going to Jack Stack, and it's not any disrespect to these other places. It's just because I've been to Jack Stack, and I'm not even like a spokesman. I mean, get the cheesy corn, get the veggies, get the sides. You'll see the difference that quality makes.
And you're sure you're not a spokesman for them?
I'm not. I mean, I even pay for the stuff full price. Yeah. I didn't even get like 10%.
Sure.
All right,
sure.
dude.
Nice.
Hey, my pleasure. Maybe when you're down at Camden Yards, hit me up. We'll grab a brewski. All right.
Will do, absolutely. Thanks
Kurt
for having me
Smith,
on,
BallparkEGuides, all sorts of explanations and a true insider fan guide to MLB ballparks. I found them on the internet. I wanted to talk some ballparks because it's fun for me, because it's summertime, and, well, our team sucks. And everybody keeps saying, there's no way they'll move the Orioles because we have Camden Yards, even though it's empty. Doesn't make any sense. I'll be writing about that. Nasty at WNST.net, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, doing my part to keep the flickering flame of baseball burning with Adley Rutschman in Adley We Trust. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.